the IRBs to cover the increased construction costs that the project has realized since it was
Correct.
first conceived to now when it might be built.
And this is the one on Commerce Drive next to Good Sense.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions from council? All right, I'm going to officially open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to address the council on this item, the tax abatement on the industrial revenue bonds on Commerce Parkway, Commerce Drive, please come forward. All right, I'm going to close the public hearing, not seeing anyone. Our next item is an evidentiary hearing on alleged unsafe structure at 8620 Spring Drive.
Yes, council, you'll recall a few meetings ago, you set tonight as the date to hold a hearing on whether the structure at 8260 Spring Drive is unsafe and dangerous. With this hearing, I would ask Cameron to come forward and present to the council his observations of the building and make as part of the record the letter that he previously sent to you regarding this structure. This structure is actually a trailer home, so and then Cameron can explain the condition, I believe.
So we'll open the public hearing before Cameron gives his comment. Is that-
Yeah,
so
I'm
we-
sorry, yeah, if you would.
All right, so with that, I will officially open the public hearing. Cameron?
Thank
You
you,
have the floor.
Mayor and Council. As was outlined in my letter previously, the structure at 8260 Spring Drive is a mobile home that has had a significant expansion, an addition built off of the side of it. The entire length of the mobile, almost double in width. And the roof line with a gabled roof tied into the mobile home that was presently there. The project was started without a permit, it was stopped, and was found to not be a permittable structure. Working with Patrick, it's a non-conforming use, an existing non-conforming use, and the addition to a mobile home wouldn't be permitted under city code. That addition has been left in a state of incompletion. The roofing was never put on, the roof sheeting was there, and the OSB roof sheeting has been left to weather and deteriorate along with the rest of the construction materials. The roof panels have begun to lift up as they've swelled and expanded through the fasteners. There is one piece of roofing that's already blown off. The ends of the roof structure are open. In a high wind event, any of those roof sheeting pieces could be prone to flying off into neighboring properties or residents, as well as all of the materials that are left currently weathering are not rated for exterior use. They are all designed to have exterior sheeting to protect them from the elements, and they've been left to sit there and deteriorate as well. So the other issue is that the structure, not being an engineered structure, being tied into a mobile home, it's not a permanent structure, lacks the structural bracing necessary to meet the wind ratings in our climate, to keep it from racking, things of that nature, which would make it prone to collapse in the future potentially.
Okay.
If any questions for Cameron, maybe from the council, and then you can
Sure.
see if there's the owner of the properties
Yeah.
present.
Any questions from council on the information Cameron has provided?
Maybe after we hear from the owner.
Okay, the owner, okay. All right, thank you, Cameron. Anyone wishing to speak to this can come forward, state your name and address, please.
Patrick Thrasher, owner of the property. Let's figure out here where to start. The Zuri come up to the city 3 times, got permission to add on to that trailer by the city, went into it $10,000 deep, and then you guys go up there a month later and put a stop work order on him. That would have been done 2 years ago. He'd have been living in it by now. And one of the things was that they said that the one side was too close to the property line, which got pictures here showing what he added on is actually less than what Vicky and her old man had added onto that trailer with all the junky shit that they had onto it. Tore all that off, gonna make it nice. And he come up here and got your guys' permission, and then one time I was up here with him, you guys wanted him to just take off 2 feet of the floor on the one end, and he could go ahead with it. And he didn't want to do that since you guys already told him he could add on what he drew up on paper on you guys. And then, so he stopped, because you put a stop work order on him now. Wouldn't even let him put the tar paper on to protect the plywood on the roof. And then here, 2 years later, I get a letter in the mail that you basically want me to fix it up now. That thing would have been fixed up, and what he was adding on to it was 10 times stronger than the trailer itself. The trailer was an old trailer. He was adding on 2x6 walls, gonna make it halfway a little efficient. He got a couple of kids. Not everybody's rich can afford a $400,000 home to raise a family. Poor people need someplace to live in this town too, not $1,250 2-bedroom apartments. We're willing to finish that. He said he would take off all the plywood, put brand new plywood on and finish that, and make it look nice, just like what a home would look like once he got done. He still wants to live next to his parents, so his grandkids grow up. His kids grow up with his grandparents right next door. You know, not everybody's loaded and can go just buy everything out there. So, or I'll fix it up, whatever. If you want, whichever way. If you want me to tear off what he started, and then I'll fix up the trailer that's there. Or will you guys let me put a brand new trailer in there? I'd take that one out if you let me put a brand new one in there. Something that looks nice.
Okay.
You know, we tried to go down the road, and he was gonna make that 10 times nicer than what Vicky had back then for an eyesore. You know, you guys didn't like it, you know. You got permission, then you stopped him. So, that's where we're at on that deal.
Okay.
If I could just ask, on the question of whether the property's unsafe and dangerous, do you concede that it is? Because that's really what the council's considering.
Not really. I don't see it being no more unsafe than half the other stuff around town. I mean, one of the things, saying the door's open where the hot water tank is, I could put a piece of OSB sheeting over that, you know, if you guys want me to do that, satisfy somebody. And there's a piece of tin hanging loose on the one end towards his parents' trailer. I can take that off, that's kind of come loose. But he's still willing to fix that up and make it look good if you guys are wanting to. I don't want to sell a lot out of the middle of our lots. And my brother and I are not ready just to sell them all either. So, but like I said, I'd put a brand new trailer there if you'd let us.
All right.
You know, every time we start something with the city, they say it's okay, and then we get into it money deep, and you stop us. The lot on towards the north, you guys were going to let us put either a modular or a trailer on that lot. We spent $10,000 filling the lot in, and then you put a stop to us on that one. Said you wanted it core drilled and tested. We filled it in with solid gravel when the rock quarry over there, 95th Street, Union Quarry shut down. We filled that thing full of solid gravel, and you wanted to try to make us core drill to see what it was. And then you let, like Steve Pruden, just push anything and everything off out there, and then you turn around and let them build $1 million places on top of it. You know, they put everything in there but junk cars and covered it up. No compaction, pushed it off 20 foot tall, let it fall off. We pushed ours off in probably foot layers as he hauled it in and filled it. And you put a stop to us on that after you said we could do it. I'm tired of getting told I can do something and then getting $10,000 deep in jobs, and then you guys come along with your little stop work order sign after I go to work. We all need to get along around here, or we're not going to get along. You guys are wanting to put a sewer line across my property out there in the country from that new plant out there. I'll hold that up till it goes Supreme Court if I got to. I don't really care.
So, do you have anything else to add, or any questions from council on what Mr. Thrasher has provided regarding the structure at Spring Drive?
What's the form of permission that you say you received? I mean, 'cause immediately we say we
Zuri
started
come up
without
to
a
the city
permit.
hall and talked to him 3 times, and I kept telling him, get something in writing, because the city will mess you over. And what do you know? 2 months later,
Did he get it?
the city messed him over.
Did he get a permit in writing?
No, he didn't. They told him he
So
could
he's-
go, they told
so
him
he
he could
didn't
go
have-
ahead.
he didn't have
drew up
permission.
everything he wanted to do. They said, oh, that's fine, go ahead.
Okay.
Anyone?
You know, half the other town can add on to stuff, and, you know, at least he come forward with to you guys and said what he wanted to do, and he wanted to make it nice and make a home for his family, and he at least had the balls to come up here instead of just doing it, and you guys come along 8 months later and see it added on, you know?
Is he here?
No, he's working.
Okay,
Do you know, you say they, do you know who? Do you know who he talked to? You say they.
He was talking to everybody up here back then. He was up here numerous times over that. Had a lawyer hired, and then the lawyer wouldn't guarantee him a win. And I said, no lawyer's going to guarantee you a win. You just got to go through with the battle. So it just, you know, he's willing to finish that and make it look nice at the city. You know, it's up there by Lakeview Heights. It's not like he's out there across from the cemetery in the $1 million homes. And when he would get done with that, it would look as good or better than any of those houses up in Lakeview Heights up there. So, like I said, some people just ain't got money, gotta have somewhere to live too in this world. And I'm just trying to keep him a home and keep another person off welfare so I get a social security check someday. So.
I'd like to ask Cameron a question when if you.
Yeah, and like I said, what he tore off is less footage than what Vicky and them had added on with sheds and chicken coops and everything else, so.
Okay.
You know, if he's willing to fix it up good enough for his family, it'd be way better than what was there before, so. Either we try to improve something, or let me put a new trailer on it, and I'll put a brand new trailer in there, rent it out to him, you know, affordable, so he can have somewhere to raise his kids. So, not everybody can raise 2 kids and pay $2,000 a month for rent. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Cameron, would you? So, was permission given for, and Mr. Zuri, is that?
Yeah, I think at Zuri,
Zuri, to,
So, we've discussed this multiple times. I spoke with Dale Hamilton, the building inspector. At the time that this all occurred, it was myself and Dale Hamilton in the building department. Neither of us can recall ever speaking with Zuri. The only discussion we had about mobile homes with anybody that came to City Hall prior to that was somebody who came in, and it very well could have been Zuri. Neither of us recognized his face and remembered that it was him. Was about adding a small porch onto a mobile home. That's the only discussion that either of us recall about a mobile home. The first time that either of us saw plans was after the stop work order was issued, and Zuri drew up plans and brought them in, because part of that stop work order, you know, says that work's got to stop until a permit is obtained, if a permit is able to be granted. Part of that permit process, you know, when we were contacted, said, what do we need for a permit? We need plans and an application. That was the first time that either of us had seen plans for that project.
and so then the follow-up, then a small porch, I'm assuming, would not require a small structure to access we don't require a permit for a small porch or deck to access a mobile home
No,
typically?
so typically, mobile homes in the city of DeSoto are not further than 30 inches from the ground, which a small porch closer than 30 inches to the ground does not require a building permit, whether it's on a mobile home or
Okay.
you know, any home in town.
All right.
If I can just
Certainly.
make it part of the record as well. And I provided the council with this communication, but on June 8th, 2022, I wrote an email to Zuri and explained to him, and I'll give this email to Brandon to make part of the record, but as I explained to Zuri, even if this council, I mean, as I said to him, unfortunately, even if the city council was moved by your situation and wanted to go ahead and let you do your project, very unlikely, since doing so would be considered illegal action by the council, and you went ahead with it, your project would still be illegal. I.e., a future council or objecting city resident could file a court action to have your work be removed. And after I wrote that to Zuri, I never heard back from him again, and that still remains. And Mr. Thrasher, just to your point of, even if this city council took a vote saying, yeah, go ahead with it, it would still be an illegal structure subject to being removed by someone complaining. So it really, other than the council making a determination on whether the structure is unsafe and dangerous and giving you time to address that, really the council doesn't have the authority to authorize you to replace that mobile home or put it back to how it existed before.
I mean, if they wouldn't let me put one on, could I just, take what he added onto it and then, repair the mobile home back livable? And put somebody in there, rent it out again?
Repeat that, sorry, I didn't catch the first part.
Patrick, the question for him is what I was gonna ask. If the additions that were added on was removed, could the regular mobile home be restored back to livable state without any additions? But what you just said made me think that the answer to that was no.
Well, that raises a legal question that I'm not really prepared to answer, but in our regulations that I provided earlier, under nonconformities, it indicates if a nonconforming structure, which this clearly is discontinued, i.e. not used for a period of 12 months, then no, it can't. That use ends and you have to conform to the zoning that lot is in. So the legal question would be, and I don't know the answer, was Zuri prevented from living in this home because of the stop work order? And has that been a period of 12 months? I don't know.
You know, by the time he got to that, he tore out the bathroom and tore out the kitchen, was getting ready to put all that stuff in new, so. As, you know, when you guys put the stop work order on him, without a bathroom there, you couldn't, in the kitchen, you couldn't live in it. But I would put it back or whatever, you know, would I be able to build a new one right on top of that frame like they did across the river? Is that in the city limits where they did that one right across the river bridge?
No,
That's right there next to the river, you know, right across from the golf course?
no. The city limits goes right down the middle of the
Because
river.
they stripped that one all the way to the frame and put a brand new floor, and it's back up, but they just haven't got the windows put in yet or nothing, but it's all up and nice, like 18-inch overhang. It'll look nice when it's done compared to what the trailer looked like. Would I be able to do something like that with this one? Because I would sure do that and make it look like a house would look.
It doesn't sound like, Mr. Thrasher, that because of the zoning in that area, that basically what could be put there is a residential home. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That a trailer home is not, with the zoning, the way the zoning is now, that a
Yeah.
trailer house, that one was there, but it was like a grandfather clause, and that's why it was allowed to be there. So since it has been out of use, and, you know, the reasons I don't think are gonna make a difference here is it's still not gonna be able to be replaced in that way, or that kind of a home being there. It would have to be a actual permanent home fixture with all the regular building codes and stuff that is put in that place.
You know, that would have been back in use. It wouldn't have went past the 12 months if we all knew this. Even if I didn't let him go there, I'd have had it fixed up and back rented in 3 months.
Okay, so my only question for you then was, back when the stop order was done, why was nothing come back? I mean, it's a year later and we're now coming to you saying that it has to be removed because it's dangerous. And none of that 12 months, or now it's been probably 15 months actually, you or Zuri have not come to ask us how to solve this problem and what can be done.
I didn't
Because
know
at
he
that
wouldn't
point-
deal with it until I got that in the mail the
Yeah,
other day.
well, and so, that, you're putting a lot of it on this city.
Yeah.
All we're doing is following rules in the code, we can only do what is allowed on it. And I think anybody would wanna help you with it, but it's just not able to. And so, understanding that you're out of this loop of it now and want to kind of get back and help him, this has been here for a year looking like this and getting worse and worse in the condition that it's in. So when we ask if you thought it was unsafe and you say no, the question right now, could somebody go in and move into that house tomorrow? It's not safe, it's not, it's
No,
a
there's
danger
no
to the
bathroom.
neighborhood, it's a danger to others too with, the way it's at. And so that's what legally we're able to do, tonight, so.
So, if y'all would have sent me some instead of, now you're trying to send me something after your little rule, and now you're saying I can't fix it up. I'd fix that up in the spring, as soon as the weather breaks, I'd fix it up. Probably 3 months, have somebody back living in it, so.
I just don't know if legally
The
that's.
council doesn't have a.
We don't have the authority to do that.
What do you want me to do to make it safe? Put a fence around it, keep any kids out of it? Cause I'm just gonna leave it stand there then and let it be an eyesore if I can't fix it up.
Well, the purpose of this hearing is to give you sufficient time to make it not be unsafe and dangerous, which in my view would be removing the structure. And if you don't wanna do that, then there are provisions that would allow the city to do that work and then put it on your taxes.
Don't need you guys on my property, so, y'all can't even fix a water leak. By the way, there's one in front of my dad's house across the street, been there all summer, so I don't know if I need to put a no fishing sign in it to get it fixed like the one in Dean Weller's yard or what, but that's another story for another day.
As I explained to Zuri, we just don't have the latitude. I mean, it's not,
But,
I mean, I
Well,
heard
can
what
I take-
happened to Zuri and
Yeah.
but there's just nothing legally possible to do.
Well, can
By
I
this
take it
council.
back over, cause he's been paying me rent on it, $100 a month while he's working on it. Can I just take it back over and basically, evict him and then fix it up?
You can't fix it up, that's the problem. It's been out of use for more than 12 months. It has not been used as a non-conforming use that it had.
So if somebody's got a house that's sat empty for more than 12 months, you wouldn't let them move somebody else back into it?
No, you
It's a-
could, because it's not non-conforming. I mean, if the house was non-conforming, then it'd be the same result.
Yeah, I gotta reinforce what Lori was saying, is that it wasn't urgent to anybody for this whole period of time. If it was important to him, he would have been in here dealing with it when it occurred, and it obviously was not important to him or to you.
You know,
Until now.
He came up here a number of times and even hired a lawyer on the deal, so then I just kinda, like I said, he's been paying me $100 a month to keep it there for him until he tries to figure out something, so. And then I get this letter in the mail, so that's where I'm kinda back in on it. You know, he's paying me rent, so I'm assuming something's going on with it, so. I don't live with him, I don't talk to him every day.
So Patrick, the information you sent us on the special use permit allowing for replacement of older mobile homes, is there a time limit on that? Or is that a viable option if they replaced it with a manufactured type of home or?
Yeah, no, that, special use permit provisions, that would not change the non-conforming, the provision about if you stop using a non-conforming use. So the special use permit, if you look through that, my interpretation is if you had an existing mobile home that you were using, you could apply to get a special use permit to replace it. But the fact that this mobile home the use is discontinued, has not been lived in for more than 12 months. Like I said, I didn't research that in depth, but to me, the result would be that no, you don't have available to you the special use permit route.
When was the stop work order issued?
Looks like May 22,
May of '22?
if I read the document.
Yeah.
Yeah,
22. 11, 22.
Regarding a modular home, our building permits do allow modular homes, don't they? I mean, that's not considered a
Because it would be,
mobile home.
yeah, it'd be new construction per code,
Right,
It'd have to be put on like
a
a
foundation.
yeah, like a crawl space or.
crawl space,
Mhm.
right.
You have something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say on the modular home, they make modular homes that come with a certificate that says it conforms to the 2018 residential code, which are allowable under our
Right.
regulations.
Okay,
So is that a possible fix? We're still calling this non-conforming?
well, I think the structure, I think the structure that we have, I mean, from what I understand, the structure that we have there now can't be brought back to code because it has been, the active non-conforming use has been vacant for more than a year. So once that has happened, then the use has been abandoned essentially, right? So it's no longer a legal non-conforming use, it would be an illegal non-conforming use now, unfortunately. And,
But a modular would then become a conforming use.
well, yeah, so, yeah, removal of the existing structure and replacement with a modular home certainly would be a possibility, or any other, residential type construction on that lot.
Yeah, so our regulations, modulars and mobiles are totally different animals. The
Yeah.
modular would conform as a typical single family, the mobile would not. And, the reason it's non-conforming is because there's designated mobile home parks within the city limits of DeSoto, and that is not a designated mobile home park, so a modular would be a conforming use. Yes.
Mayor, I got one more question.
Certainly.
Back in May, when you came to us, Cameron, did he get sent a letter back then, or is he, the only letter that he received was just recently?
Oh, when I came with the initial, unsafe structure letter, that was was it September, October? And right after that hearing is when it was published in the legal record, and that's when that was mailed out, to him. So the stop work order in May of 2022 and the letter I brought before council were totally different, different things. And the letter was what triggered the notification to the property owner.
But I think Kevin's asking if Mr. Thrasher received that letter in May of
The
22.
stop work
Or-
order.
Yeah,
it
if he
was
would have
already
received
there.
that in May, he might have.
So it was mailed
I
to
never-
Thrasher Properties, it was
Thrasher
mailed to the
Properties.
property owner and
Okay.
flood code enforcement.
Okay, so it would have went to.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Had I known that was gonna go on, like, I feel like you guys just prolong this and then send this out and you run my clock out and making up rules, now I can't do nothing. That's the way I feel. Because I would've had that fixed back up within the 12 months if I knew you guys had all these rules that we don't know about. So,
Okay.
Well, the resolution that I prepared, which will take action later in the meeting, but I guess what I would say during that period, whatever period the council gives you, if you want to hire an attorney to contend that the use was not discontinued or abandoned per our code, then, that's something you can present, but my interpretation on behalf of the city would be that, yeah, the 12 months ran, but, you may hire a lawyer that has a different interpretation, and, I'd be open to considering what they say, but I don't think the result's gonna change, but,
I just kinda cram it down, Mike, so. I just need to buy some gum, I guess, get used to the taste of this town.
Okay. All right, I think
Let's go.
anyone else wanting to address the council on this item? I'm gonna close the public hearing then. And we'll move on in our agenda. Our next item is our consent agenda. Tonight on the consent agenda, we have approval of minutes from the October 19th city council meeting and approval of table minutes number 960. Is there anything on the consent agenda anyone would wish to remove for further discussion? A motion to approve, please.
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Hunamichael.
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right.
Mayor, if I could I have just a minute or two to aim the camera on the video stream?
Sure.
I think I fixed it.
Oh, you-
Yeah, if you go, try it on YouTube real fast. If you noticed, I was kind of furiously playing with the remote, that's what I was trying to do.
Sorry, okay.
I think it's working, but it's probably too small on your screen, but check.
Gotta make sure it's getting my good side,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, let's see.
I think it's right there at the front, yeah. Right down there. See if you can see, I think I fixed it.
Oh, you-
Yeah, I think.
Okay, good.
Try it on,
No, this looks good.
okay.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
For that. Thanks,
All
Randy.
right. Our next item is call to public. Members of the public are welcome to use this time to comment about any matter relating to city business not listed on tonight's agenda. The comments that are discussed under call to public may or may not be acted on by the council during this meeting. There is a 4-minute time limit. Does anyone wish to address the council under call to public? All right, seeing none, we will move on to item 3A, old business. Consider resolution 2023 setting a hearing for December 7th, 2023 on expansion of the Sunflower Redevelopment District to include all SRL land previously annexed into the city.
Yes, council. Don't know if you recall this, but back in 2021, the city initially we annexed 6,400 acres owned by Heitzman, Gabriel, and SRL into the city. And then following that, there was additional land that the city annexed of SRL's land. And then immediately after that annexation, we formed the TIF district. Well, as it turned out, because there was an error in the legal description for the annexation, that nullified the city's attempt to expand the TIF to capture this new annexed land. We fixed that. SRL submitted a correct legal description, so we fixed the annexation part and annexed the 2,600 acres back into the city. At that time, we never expanded the TIF district to cover that additional annexed land. Sunflower really, I don't think that was high on their list of things to get done, but so what we have before you now is simply scheduling that hearing to formally expand the TIF district over that additional acreage that was annexed. So it's essentially, you already previously decided to do that, it just legally was impossible, so this is just making a fix of that. But again, tonight's action is simply passing a resolution to schedule the hearing for December 7, 2023.
Okay. Any questions from council?
So between now and then, they can have a chance to triple check the legal description, right? It's a very, very complex legal, so.
The county will review legals that, and they've already
Run
went through the
meets and
legals
downs
and
all right.
they said it's good.
Yeah, all right. That's a good question, a good point to be made.
Not do it again.
That's right.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2023.
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Lane?
Yes.
Hanamichael?
Yes.
Daniels?
Yes.
Murdoch?
Yes.
Ritter?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Item 4A, consider resolution 2024 related to issuance of IRB's tax abatement and sales tax exemptions for building expansion of Building 37 by Intervet Inc.
Yes, council, as discussed in the public hearing, this is a request by Intervet. We also have an ordinance on the agenda. Normally, what you're used to is passing a resolution of intent, and then after the project is done, an ordinance will be passed to issue the bonds. Here, I believe Intervet is trying to get this done before the end of the year. You have the resolution, which just indicates your intent to grant the tax abatement in the amount of 75%. And then the ordinance essentially is authorizing issuance of those bonds. So as discussed as part of the public hearing, the 75% was part of a prior resolution that you had granted for future tax abatements, but as we've discussed on prior issues, statutorily, you have to have a cost-benefit analysis done for each project, and we have to hold a public hearing on the requested abatement. So we've completed the public hearing. Now it's your opportunity to take up Resolution 2024.
Okay. Questions from council? Would the applicant like to address the governing body?
Sure. Not really, yeah.
All right.
Ron Wellms, Engineering, Intervet Inc., doing business as Merck Animal Health. This is a continuation of our continued expansion at the plant. We started this resolution about 5 years ago. We built building 35 and 36, our admin building on the farm, as well as our new utilities building. We expanded our building G, our new utilities building for the main campus. We put up a new storage barn, building 34. 37 is our new fluid decontamination facility so that we will inactivate any biological waste coming out of our research buildings. We have building 33, another large animal study facility that's under construction right now. We're not anywhere near as big as our neighbors to the south, but we are continuing to grow and develop the Merck campus, and we appreciate the council's support in all of this. You offered the neighbors to the south 85%, so we thought we'd at least ask the question, because y'all feeling pretty generous. So. But we understand our resolution's at 75, and we're good with that.
All right. Thank you. Any questions from council for the applicant? All right. Good. Thank you, Ron. If there are no questions, I think we're ready for a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion. I don't need to ask the same questions I've asked for the last 6 years or 12 years or something on this, but we'll make a motion to approve resolution number 20 as written.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Hunter-Michael.
Yes.
Daniels.
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. Item 4B, consider ordinance 2595, authorizing tax abatement for Intervet Inc.
Right, so this ordinance just implements the
Right.
resolution that you just passed.
Unless there's anything more to be added, I would think we're ready for a motion.
I just had a question
Okay.
real quick. I guess I didn't put in my motion 75% that was written in this already.
Good point. Given the applicant said they're fine with the 75%, I assume.
Yeah, that was what I was assuming, but as I look in it, I'm not sure if it's actually was documented in there.
All right,
so
well,
I
let's
wanna
go back
make
and
sure-
redo the resolution.
I just want to
motion.
make sure that the motion for the passing of resolution 2024 was for a 75% tax abatement.
So you want to amend the first motion to
Yes, thank you.
75%?
Yes.
And I second that.
All right, we have an amended motion. I don't know how that works in Robert's Rules of Order, but in DeSoto, it's gonna work like it works tonight,
I
so.
believe it's if the original and the second.
All right. Do we have a motion, amended motion and an amended second to make sure that the motion, or the resolution includes 75%? Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Daniels.
Yes.
Hunter-Michael.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Now, the ordinance 2595.
You'd make the same clarification as well on that.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we approve ordinance 2595 with the tax abatement being at 75%.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Lane. Yes. Hanamichael.
Yes.
Daniels.
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Lane.
You say Lane or Ritter?
Ritter.
Yes. I was gonna let him vote twice.
Thank you.
Sorry? Yeah, we just sure did. We did not have any takers, but we did it. Item C, consider resolution 2025 related to issuance of IRBs, tax abatement, and sales tax exemption for 20,000 square foot industrial warehouse facility at 8997 Commerce Drive. This was the item that was the expansion or extension of the IRBs to cover the inflated construction costs that we've all experienced lately.
Correct.
And unless we need any more discussion, we thought it was worthy a year and a half ago, so I believe no, not to put words in your mouth. If we still do, someone could make a motion or you can ask a question.
Well, I'm just glad to see that we have some dates for
Right.
starting work in it, to be able to get this project going, so that it doesn't increase again before it gets off the ground, so. But no other cover, I'll make a motion, we approve resolution 2025 as written.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Hanamichael.
Yes.
Daniels.
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Item D, consider resolution 2026 related to alleged unsafe structure at 8260 Spring Drive. You know, we heard a lot on this. I feel very bad for the gentleman and his family that started that construction. I think it's pretty clear from our legal advice where we are and what we need to do. And in any event, whether or not the stop work order was valid, right now we have a structure that's in a partially complete condition that is fallen down. So I mean, I think it's pretty clear that it's an unsafe structure. Now, the way forward on that piece of property is another matter, but I think in my mind, this has been fairly well demonstrated by our codes staff, that building official, that we need to take action on this so that we can get the process started. Any comments from anyone on council?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's unfortunate the situation got to where it is, but a lot of time went by. But as Patrick noted too, the landowner now with this starts a clock by which he could at least make his own case and flush it out if he desires.
Right.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2026, finding structure located at 8260 Spring Drive as unsafe and dangerous and subject to being raised, repaired or raised and removed by the city of DeSoto at the property owner's expense.
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. So do we need to define a time period in
Well,
here? Or?
It already recites 30 days,
30
but
days.
certainly if you wanted to extend that.
Let's extend that for 90 days, right?
Okay,
Does that
so-
seem
I was gonna
reasonable?
say, I think extending it's reasonable.
And there was not a second yet, right?
There was a motion and a second,
Oh,
yes.
so a second. Okay, so I'll amend the motion then to adjust the 30-day period stated in section 3 to read 90 days.
I'll second the
Second amendment.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Brandon, do you have that?
Yes.
All right, roll call when you're ready. Oh, unless there's any discussion.
Well, the only
Sorry.
question, the only comment I'll make is that that it's clear to the property owner that it says raised, removed, or repaired, raised or removed, that repaired really isn't an option here. So, as long as that's clear,
Yeah.
because it really needs to be raised and removed, not repaired.
Yeah.
And so that would be my only conflict with what this says here.
Does that need to be,
Well, unless, like I said, unless his legal counsel made some case that they believed it could be repaired.
Okay.
You know, when I prepared this, that wasn't,
Was part of
that
it.
question hadn't been,
Yep.
he talked to Cameron I don't know how long ago, a few days ago, and that's when that was raised, so, I think it's fine just leaving it as is, and if the city takes further action on the structure, we would have to pass other resolutions, so it's not like we're just gonna go out there and, you know,
Bulldoze it.
yeah, there's several steps, so.
That's all I know.
All right. Roll call, please.
Hunter-Michael.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Daniels.
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right.
Mayor, I believe I need to,
All right.
step away from.
All right. Brandon, will you please note that Councilman Ritter will leave the meeting for item 4E? All right, item 4E, consider agreement with Evergy for cooperation within the Sunflower Utility Corridor.
Yes, council, when the city first learned that Evergy was proceeding with eminent domain through the Sunflower Corridor, that was alarming to staff, and so we were very concerned about that, but when we considered, you know, what options were open to the city, we did conclude that, you know, trying to stop the eminent domain really was not an option. So we did start talking to Evergy and negotiated this cooperation agreement with Evergy that we will record this as part of the land records. And essentially what it requires is that for future use of that corridor, the city and Evergy would cooperate. For example, the city installing a new water line, the sewer line that we're, you know, proceeding with right now, as well as the recreation path that is to go in this area. So, Chris Berger, I believe, is here representing Evergy, if you have any questions of him, but staff is comfortable with this agreement that it gives us some protection for future use of that corridor.
I mean, you addressed, my main concern was that we were gonna be able to get our path through there, that, you know, we have the KDOT funding for, because we know we're gonna need that very soon, that right of way, that easement for that, so.
We still have room for the water sewer.
It's tight, but yeah.
Any questions from council on this?
I want to make sure I understand the sentence about for any future city expansion of existing rights facilities for the public use, subject to the notification. Would that include an expansion of the road right away itself?
Yeah, how would that work? I mean, we're gonna have to widen Sunflower Road at some point in the
Right.
future.
Is that sentence intended to is that what that sentence is capturing?
Give me
It's
the
at the bottom of the first
Yeah, let
page.
me-
Sentence at the bottom of the first page.
I have that pulled up here.
Yeah, I know when I was talking to Mr. Berger, where'd you go?
He's referring to this very last sentence on the first page. For any future city expansion of existing rights of.
For public use, yeah. So, I mean, my interpretation would, yes, that would include road. And, I mean, this doesn't give us carte blanche, but it would at least,
If we
Require
expanded the
Evergy.
right of way, Evergy's rights would still extend over into the right of way, but as long as we don't interfere with their use of that expansion, then
Right.
that could be mutually agreed upon.
yeah, that is my read of it.
Good evening, my name is Chris Berger. Thank you. I think your council's being too humble. Actually, the way that this has been drafted up is the water lines, which are planned now, the two water lines to the east of where the transmission line will go, will have priority over the transmission line itself. And that, though they have priority. So will there be the water lines? There is space that's been allocated. The parties in the agreement have recognized where it goes, where the transmission line is as well, have acknowledged and agreed that that is a good place for it, and that those lines would remain. There's another 25 to 40 feet to the east for future expansion by either Sunflower or as the city may need it. So there's future use that's available there as well. And like I said, council being humble because he also secured your priority in time to the rights that exist and to those water lines.
I guess I was asking as to the future, because that last sentence deals with, future expansion, particularly with the road right of way. So on the west side, if we needed to expand the Sunflower Road right of way, we can do that under that 90-day notice provision.
Actually, I think the road right-of-way is a different set of rights, but they would not interfere with the transmission line because it would just be an overhang at that point in time. So it's.
I guess that's what I was acknowledging. The average easement would overlay the city's road right of way at that point. That would
Overhang.
not, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from council? All right. I think we're ready for a motion.
Just to add, sorry,
Sure.
I've been talking to Chris about perhaps doing a similar agreement for 95th Street, and that's something that we're still having discussion on. That'll obviously be a later date.
So the action would be to
Authorize the mayor to execute the agreement.
Right.
that's the course of action. So I'll make a motion to authorize Mayor Walker to enter into a cooperation agreement with Evergy Central Kansas, Inc. in the form as presented at the meeting tonight.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Hunamichael,
Yes.
Ritter, Lane.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. You're welcome, thank you. Brandon, would you please note that Councilman Ritter's rejoined the meeting?
So noted.
All right. Item F, consider change, or approve change order number 12. Well, we'll consider it and then we'll approve it. Change order number 2 from American Pipeline Solutions for the Wellfield Rehabilitation Project.
Mayor, Council, this request is, we approved agreement with APS several months ago for them to pig the main 16-inch line from the north side, from our North Willfield south to the H structure, which sits just north of our wastewater treatment plant. We also had a contract with Kissick to go in and put valves and Ys to be able to pig the lines. It was determined once Kissick had completed most of that work that it was much more efficient and better to have the lines pigged instead of Kissick doing the televising and jetting of the lines. The pigging of the lines would result in cleaner lines, and at the same time, we'll televise the line with the TV camera behind the pig. It reduces the cost to Kissick's contract. It is much more efficient to pig the lines than it is to jet the lines and televising the lines. And so the decision was made to remove the cammering of the lateral lines for our active wells and to have APS pick the lines. What is the work that we've been doing, what is really nice is that once these lines are clean, our well field is set up so that our staff can then, on a routine basis every year, year and a half, pig the lines from our well field all the way to our water treatment plant. So we will have the means to be able to keep our water lines cleaned and can do that on an annual or year and a half or every other year so that we are assured that we maintain a clean line. So this request is to increase APS's contract by $12,000 to accommodate the 6 active wells and pigging those lines, and then we would remove that from Kissick's contract at a later date. And if approved by council, then our engineer, Blue Water, will work with APS to finalize that change order to be submitted for the city administrator to sign.
So effectively, these funds are coming from the Kissick agreement, moving over here.
Yep.
Any other questions from council?
I'll make a motion, we approve change order number 2 in the amount of $12,000 for the city administrator's signature.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Huntermichael.
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Item G, discuss economic incentive application from MDP Properties LLC Townhome Development at Ottawa Street and Lexington Avenue.
Yes, council, this item and the next item are economic incentive applications that have been submitted. MDP Properties has representation in the audience tonight, answer any questions, have discussion about these. You'll recall our revised incentive policy does stipulate that these types of applications are submitted to the council without any recommendation from staff or from the Economic Incentives Committee regarding to their appropriateness or level of incentive. So that's the discussion we're having tonight, initial discussion. The Incentive Committee did meet last week and discuss this and the next application. And those members, Councilman Huntermichael, Daniels, and the mayor, can relate that conversation if they wish or not. But in essence, this is that first. So what we would have is this discussion this evening, and then if appropriate, follow this up at the next meeting with appropriate resolutions or ordinances that will be need to enact the actual incentives. So the first one here, this item 4G, it relates to a 21-unit townhome project. It's at the northeast corner of Ottawa Street and Lexington Avenue. The project summary describes as $6.5 million projects, 21 unit. They're both 2 and 3 bedrooms in several separate buildings on that site. The site is rezoned and did receive planning commission approval for the project. So essentially, from a planning perspective, it is now ready for building permit. I've included a couple of sheets of the site plan that was approved for your information. There it does include some public roads and 4 buildings that contain the 21 units. The applicant is requesting an 80% tax incentive, 80% 10-year tax abatement with an IRB that would relieve the sales tax burden for construction materials. So we'll leave it at that. Turn it over to any questions you might have, Mayor, or
Okay.
any interaction with the applicant.
Sure. All right. I'll give the applicant a chance to speak here in just a second. The thing I passed out to everybody was a big sheet of paper, which was those kind of school district impact calculations. So this one I have listed here under the townhomes, and what I did on the average to kind of so the student generation information that we got from the school district. Basically, I looked at similar properties at Clearview, which was 0.3 students. Prairie Pine Townhomes, which was a mix, is in Shawnee, but it's a mix of 2 and 3 bedroom townhomes. So that's where that 0.318 students per dwelling unit was arrived at, and then the average dollars per USD 232 student that is in the single family. I've got 2 numbers there. One is just the straight average, and the other one is the average that excludes the high and the low. So that's the 2 numbers right there on that. If you're looking at be the bottom and the kind of orangey number, and then the white below that. So the other piece, then you can see I ran percentages from 90 to 0. I didn't, for some reason I didn't run 80. I don't know why. I don't
Interpret.
sorry. Yeah, you'll have to interpolate, but you can see it's, based on this, it would be somewhere around, I don't know, $3,800 per student that would be, I would expect would be generated by this development. So any questions from anybody on what all the numbers I gave you? A couple of my thoughts on the development that I shared during our meeting was that this is an infill that completes a good-looking project that Joe started, the Cottage Creek area, or Cottage Creek, Possum Creek area. Sorry, Joe. But it you know, fills that out. And it infill takes advantage of infrastructure that's already been placed, and you know, much needed residential units. I think at the right incentive level, so that we hold the schools harmless. But a great addition to our community. So.
Yeah, I'll build on that a little bit. You know, we just revised our economic incentive plan in May of this year, in which case we revised the map and we revised the matrix. So we kind of rethought and refreshed it. This is in Area 4 on the map. So it is infill, and it is in one of the areas we identified. And it is stipulated, I think, as, I'll get back to that part for residential. For residential, not in areas 1, 3, or 5, shall be with the matrix. For multifamily, shall be capped at 80%. So I think it's consistent, in my opinion, at least, with our revised updated economic incentive plan.
Yeah, on the townhomes, I think we were all pretty much in agreement that it was within the incentive policy and a good infill project on this one.
Danny, any thoughts?
I think that's a little bit too high, but that's me and that's my thought on it. I won't hear the applicants.
Certainly. One thing I will share is they did provide a very detailed pro forma. They shared what, a lot of information was shared that stands behind their request. So they'll get a chance to address that when they step up. So, Kevin?
I think it looks great for this location. I believe this particular contractor doesn't ask for a lot. The outdoor space, is it gonna be like a little park, or do you just plan to leave it out like outdoors? And it's all that on there?
That'll be a natural space, but we'll kind of use it as a dog park area.
Cool. I don't have any issue with it there.
Thank you. Lori, did you have anything you wanted to add or questions?
I don't know if I have any questions right now.
All right.
So I think I'm good with.
And I would invite the applicant to step forward and you have one question, I guess, that you've got, and anything else you want to provide?
Good evening, I'm Bob Galambo with Monticello Development Partners. We're really excited about these projects. The first project, the 21 townhomes, is on vacant land, 1.87 acres. And really what excited us about this project is it didn't require off-site infrastructure. No, road work, utility extensions, sewer extensions, etc. However, the world we're living in right now is elevated in the way of debt costs and construction costs continue. And so, as we put together our budget, our pro forma, etc., we found ourselves in a gap, and that's why we're here in front of you to assist us to fill that gap. Otherwise, the project does not work. It's a $6.5 million project. We look at it in conjunction with, and I know it's next, but I'll say this now, in conjunction with the duplex project, which is 54 units, so we would be developing 75 units in DeSoto. And the 54 units are duplexes. We should I just go ahead and talk about what we're proposing there, or should I stop just on the townhomes?
I don't, maybe let's just
Keep it on
contain the
townhomes?
discussion to the townhomes, because since we have to act individually on them. We'll, any questions for the applicant on it? I mean, well, actually, we don't, our action is to.
It's just a staff direction.
Right,
It's no
right, yeah.
no formal action to be taken.
So-
And this would be an actual street.
Yeah,
Public
it's a public
street
street.
to the end of the alley.
So at the north of the street, it becomes, transitions to an alley.
Yeah, it's a little different, but because of the infield nature and making best use of the property, we all, planning commission staff, we worked on that quite a bit with Jeff.
I mean,
Yeah,
we were
it's-
already
it's a little
plowing the
atypical.
alley.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so in real world terms, it really doesn't change how we have to address it or treat it. I mean,
It's a little different, but.
it's just a little narrower and without curb.
But it fits our development guidelines.
Yes.
Okay.
So there is no action, but we're giving staff direction in order to come back with an agreement. So
Right.
the question is the 80%.
Right.
Right, so we're looking at least for some consensus. there.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I guess the direction I would say is, I think the applicants stated that the 80% is what their performer tells them they need to make the return to make the project viable. I think by what I've satisfied myself that the 80% provides the school district more dollars per student than they would get were this to come to the market as single family, what they would get with single family residences.
And the 80% is exactly consistent with
And it matches our
Plan.
incentive plan. So, I mean, I would, my direction would be that it's a reasonable application in alignment with our incentive policy. And
I agree.
I think, I've heard Danny thinks it's a little high, but I think, unless I don't hear anything else from anyone else, so.
I'm fine with it.
Okay, all right. You just stay put, and then we'll go through the introduction, and then, all right.
Are we ready for item 4H then?
Yes, we are ready for item 4H.
Yes,
Sorry.
counsel.
That was my segue to item 4H, Mike, sorry.
Very good. I picked up on that. Good. Yes, council, this application is for a duplex project that will be along 87th Street, west of Penner Avenue, on the north side there. This one is a $17 million project, 54 duplex units. That's 27 separate structures. I don't think duplex is the actual term we use anymore. Maybe Mr. Galamba can correct me on that.
Twin villa.
Twin villa? Yeah.
Twin villa, yeah.
And Villa.
There was, after the staff report went out, some confusion, and we did speak with the applicant on this a little bit. The application form indicated they're requesting 100% tax abatement on this one, but the intent, I think, was to leave the school mills, hold the school harmless by reserving the school mills there. So maybe you can speak to that a little bit when the time comes there. We talked about that a little bit internally about how we could go about doing that. And fortunately, with an IRB, with a constitutional tax abatement, we would not be able to preserve, say, a pilot, so whatever percent that might be, and then just give that to the schools. That whatever pilot we reserve, whatever percentage is left collecting tax on, we'd have to distribute those equally or on a pro rata share with all the taxes. So that's one wrinkle to be aware of as we discuss that. Aside from that, we can have that conversation a little bit later. The project itself, again, from a planning perspective, has all the approvals it needs to obtain building permits. Planning Commission has approved a preliminary plat for this. Since it's a subdivision, it does not come with architectural standard and review that you might see on the site plan like we did with the townhome project. But regardless, this would be essentially filling out that residential area along West 87th Street public streets here, subdivision process, so. That's the project, and that's the general nature of the request, and I'll turn it over to you, Mayor, for.
All right, I think the one piece that was left out of that, and I'm sure Mr. Glanville will address it too, was the 10% units reserved for low income or lower income assistance on 5 units, right? Correct. So the numbers I've got here don't reflect anything similar to, I don't know how that reserved school district mill would work, but we kind of know what we might be looking for a number. But I'll just go to the group for comments, and then I'll give you a chance to speak. Kevin, any?
Yeah, I'll share my thoughts on it. Again, I'm going to go to the policy or economic incentive policy. It's outside of any area delineated on the map. And we use that map really to drive strategy and to drive the community we're trying to build in certain areas. So it's outside of there. The way we say that we will address those in the plan is, let me get back up to where that was. Areas outside the map generally aren't going to be considered for incentive. And if I can get back to the exact language of that. And also, when you look at other comparable, specific locations, there it is on page 5 of the plan. Incentives may be granted, lesser amounts, shorter terms. No incentives will be allowed for projects which are not aligned with our priorities map or philosophy. So we generally discouraged it. I think there have been other similar twin villas, if you want to call them, developed in the community that have been market rate and have worked on their own capitalization. So personally, I'm not in favor of incentives at this location.
Okay. Lori?
When I saw this, I was a little bit confused because I thought these were going to be sold duplexes. I didn't realize this was going to be a rental area when this was developed. I mean, the plans look fine, what's going on there as far as duplexes or villas or whatever you want to call them. It is a great mix in there, but I guess in my mind, I need explanation on why we would put in rentals here when it seems to me that this type of unit sells in DeSoto, would sell in DeSoto, and so, looking at the costs and everything with that, that kind of really took me back. But so I'm not real sure that, definitely not 100% abatement on what I feel we need more of in this town right now is some properties that people can own and have possession of. So I'm a little bit taken back on coming forth to develop the project, which is going to look the same outcome, only you're going to have all of them rentals instead of people being able to own the properties. But to get it that way, we need an abatement to make it work, and so I'm that just doesn't all fit with me quite right. I guess I need more explanation on that.
Okay. Rob?
You want to answer that, or?
I don't, do you want, I was gonna let everybody on the council speak and then,
If he answers, it may answer other questions.
okay.
So.
Well, I'm open with that as well if you want to,
So the question is, why rental?
right.
What we see is a housing market that is very difficult to deliver that starter home or that lower, the entry level housing. What we can do is deliver for rent, and we have, as we all know, 4,000 plus employees coming that are going to need housing. And we think that that market is much more inclined to be a renter, at least initially. And so what we'd like to do is deliver 54 units here and the 2175 units total to the market. As far as the abatement goes, our goal has been to leave in place in some way for the school district now I'm hearing how that, I don't know how that could work, but that's been our goal, is to leave that in place. So it was 100%, but we took out a number. I think our number landed at like 94%. It may or may not have been the right exact calculation, but that was our intent. We think that covers the school district. It'd be for 10 years, but we've also offered with that adding in restricted units. So 10% of the units be restricted between 61 up to 90% of the average median household income. So units rent in the marketplace from $1.50 to about $1.75 per square foot. With those restrictions in place, we would be somewhere around $1.20 to $1.25. So we'd be bringing down the rent on those 5 units as a kind of balancing act with the abatement.
Thank you. Rob?
Yeah, we had discussion on this, and Randy, I think you're gonna have a near impossible time getting 100%. I'm not comfortable at the 100%. I know it's been expressed pretty much so far that's consistent. We do have the latitude to provide some discretion and abatements. The one thing this project does bring, and the home ownership versus the rental, there's a lot of trends right now that are lending to people renting by choice instead of ownership that we're seeing, but being able to purchase would be nice. What I am seeing in this project, though, is most of the projects we've approved, which would be almost 1,250 units between the Flint projects and the project by Dollar General, are mostly studio 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom, with just a handful of 3-bedroom, where almost all of these units are actually 3-bedroom. So in that regards, these are, whether they're rental or whether they're for purchase, filling a space that we don't have a lot of in what we've put in as multifamily. Now, flip side, that is one thing that makes it impact the school district far more than most of the other projects we've done, because the 3-bedroom are the ones that will start to have more youth students that are in the school district. So at that point, I would be comfortable with some level of abatement, probably not much over 50, but definitely not 100%.
Okay, thank you. Kevin?
Probably almost the same thing that he said. I'm not against some sort of abatement, but I'm probably less than about the 50, somewhere around there, plus or minus. But one of the questions that I do have is, this is the piece of property that we spoke with you, wasn't it, Joe, about the sewer lines that were gonna be connected to this piece of property. Is this included in this plan to still connect those 2 or 3 homes with this project?
Yeah, they'll end up having to have pumps on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanna make sure that those folks get taken care of. But with that said, no, that's all I have.
All right, Danny?
Well, I kind of wish that they would be purchased units. I think we are going the other way too much on the other for what we're gonna be getting in the future here, and plus what we got up on the hill. And I think there's plenty of that already, so I really feel that they should be given away. So I'm not supporting that, or I'm sorry for the abatement either, no.
So we've got, I guess I'm more in line with Rob. I think we have a product that we need. I'm a fence splitter, because I would love to see these be for sale product, because we don't, the number of rental units in our community is starting to climb, in that balance between single family, between home ownership and renters is edging, quite a bit higher. And and then just the whole thought of, home ownership as that first step, you know, toward wealth building is, it's a great first step, and, then we have the, immediate need, I believe, there is a real need or demand, and so that person that wants to buy that, twin villa, half of a twin villa at, you know, whatever it might be, $350,000 or $400,000, whatever it might be, at current interest rates, may not be able to afford that, whereas they could walk into it as a rental product. I don't. I guess the other option that, and we didn't have an opportunity to explore it, if there were any other state financing availabilities that might bring the borrowing rate down, that would allow a lesser, you know, that would allow you a better return for the developer, and not require as much help to bring the project forward. So all of them, we have the same issue. We can, you know, we're going to generate a lot of kids from these 3-bedroom units. We have to make sure that the school district has sufficient funds to provide the education. We don't want to burden the district, and so obviously 100% is not going to do that, and finding that mechanism to allow payment of the school portion, or whatever that might be, is going to be a challenge. So, Bob, is there anything you want to address on that, or your team?
You have something to do?
What are the current options right now for a family that moves into the city that can't afford a house?
And that was what I was kind of thinking in the background of my head too, is that when the apartments were gonna go down in Lexington, it was discussed that they would start out as apartments, but that particular company wanted to build them and was then gonna transfer them into condos that those people would buy. And I didn't know if this was something like that project could start out either. If they ended up being great renters, established credit, had the incomes, then could they finance into a purchased home? And it might be an aspect that they could get it to work. I don't know that we just don't have a lot of land. It's been
Yeah, so to your question, I don't know that we have a lot. I mean, we have some scattered single family in the old part of town, getting to be more, there is not a lot of inventory of family-sized rental stock in DeSoto right now.
And part of that lack of inventory, from my perspective, is it has been built and sold successfully purely at market rate. You know,
Yeah.
Don Parr's project on the east side of town, Arbor Ridge, you know, it had duplexes in it that did great, just fine. And so that's why I'm not in favor of an incentive in this situation where it looks just like a project that just recently went in, when it's in an area that is not in our incentive priority.
I think
When that was started,
It was before the interest rates went up, but granted, who's to say what interest rates are gonna happen in the future? And who's to say that maybe, you know, on the flip side is who's to say you don't get in a situation where you do start selling these off, because you could. Because they're on individual lots, and you could survey through the demising wall, and they could be for sale at some point. So there's also nothing to say what this is gonna look like 10 years from now.
We were more focused on the next couple of years coming up. Where We've got this influx of people coming. And
Well, we've also got a lot of apartment projects that are
but mostly-
cooking too.
Right, but mostly 1 and 2 bedrooms, like I think Rick mentioned.
Yeah,
So we were thinking more of a 3-bedroom.
This project's unique in that it's one of the few that can accommodate families easily. All the rest of the over 1,250 units we've approved have, I think out of the 1,250 units, if I remember correctly, you're talking less than 50 of them are 3-bedroom.
and we're also infill, so we're not there's not the road and the sewer extensions, et cetera, that are required for a lot of those projects. And so there's not that sort of burden. One of your question on purchasing, you know, one of the things we did do was an analysis looking at what is the net cost to own on, you know, a monthly basis and what is it for rent. And prior to the set aside or the restricted rent affordability. And to rent was about $200 to $300 less than ownership when you're at 8% interest. And then you add in 20% down, and you obviously your taxes, insurance, et cetera. So it becomes, again, back to my initial comment, it is that whole starter home concept that we all participated in over many, many years. It's just very difficult, one, for the borrower, the resident, and two, as a developer to deliver. It's just, it's a broken environment right now.
So what dollar amount would you have said it would, that you used when you figured that one of these would sell, one side would sell for, one unit would sell for?
When was it? 450?
Somewhere in there. I can't remember exactly.
I believe it was 450.
So, you know, we're building, 900, I mean, they're big. They're, you know, bigger than my house. You know, you know, and I'm not against it, and you guys, you know, if you choose to do a rental, you know, that's great, but, you know, at some point, you know, we have a lot of, I believe, rental homes in DeSoto. I don't know the number exactly, but I do feel that our percentage of houses in Meadows and throughout, there are rental homes. Right now, we don't have houses for sale that are under $400,000. So when you ask, what do we have for somebody that doesn't want to own, well, people are just starting to give up on the option to want to own because they can't afford to own. And so putting in a product that is nowhere near that even, you know, I don't see how it's ever going to move forward. So, I mean, you know, the plan is there, and that's fine. I don't ever want to change somebody for doing what they want to do, but, you know, they're completely, you know, if we're going to put in something at that cost, then I feel you should be able to pay for it, because I don't think it should be on the city's back to pay for something like that.
Yeah, and when I say I'm not, you know, I'm really focused on what are we trying to incentive. I'm not for the incentive. I think it's a great project, and I think it's a great idea, but I'm just not for the incentive.
Okay.
Can I talk to you?
Certainly.
Since I'm
Yeah.
involved in this? You know, I just want everything to be on an even playing field here, okay? So, 100% pipe dream. Okay, I'll be the first one to say.
But let's be clear, that's not what we were asking
Okay,
for, right?
so that's what everybody keeps saying, so
I know.
what, I don't, you know, you talk about all these apartments, you talk about all this stuff, how much of this is ready to go? Or how much of that is, we have no sewers for that, we have no anything for any of that project to go through. These are ready to go, they are ready to have families move in, they are, we can build these, we could be putting structures up next year, okay? You know, and I know of an apartment complex that got 90%, okay? We're doing just as many homes as apartment buildings. There's some duplexes that got 75 that Don Parr, maybe my name's wrong, but that Don Parr got. We got another 75 down there next to the bank that Dustin and them got. Dustin got all this ground from the city that nobody else knew about, that I didn't know about. I'd like to have all of it, okay? So I just want an even playing field. That's what I want. And I don't think that that's the case, you know, in this thing. Because I can talk to 4 or 5 different people that didn't know anything about the stuff that the city sold or gave away or whatever they did. Because nobody knows, because the transparency's not there. But this is a project that is ready to go. I agree with with you. A lot of people don't want to own anything anymore. They want to make a phone call and say, hey, come fix this. They don't want to mow a yard, they don't want to paint a house, they don't want to do any of that. I mean, that's just sad, but that's not the way we were all brought up. That was the dream, was to own your own place. But in today's world, kids don't want that. So I've seen the work that these guys do. I think you all know the kind of work that I do. And I would not be, I've had I don't know how many people come up and want to buy this thing from me. And these guys, I've looked at what they do. They will do a fantastic job, and they're gonna own them, they're gonna keep them mowed, they're gonna keep everything going the way that I would want them myself. I have a lot of stake in this town. Unlike, I love this town. This town, I have done my absolute best to keep, give stuff away to all the charities, and you guys have given other people stuff, but when I come to town, I've never asked for nothing, never. And now that we do come and I ask, then everybody wants to say, okay, all right, well, probably, maybe not on this deal. That's my thoughts, and how can you give other duplexes, other properties, 75%, and this project is in the core of DeSoto, and not say that you don't trust, you don't support it? I don't understand. When it's, and you're talking about all these apartments that you want, and I don't see anybody doing anything on that. And who knows if they're even gonna do it? So, these projects are ready to go. We have the money to do it. We can offer a nice product, and, I believe that on a playing field that is even, that these should get 80% on the townhomes and at least 75 on the duplex.
Thank you, Joe. I'm gonna say, out of everything Joe said, the key point was this is shovel-ready, and the reason we incented some of the early stuff like the Flint products was we wanted, we felt the need, the pressure to, we were gonna incentivize because we wanted housing available when Panasonic was open. This is a project that meets that objective, really. I think it is a good point and likely true that, even if the Flint projects break ground as soon as the sewer's ready, they're gonna lag or follow behind significantly, and the whole motivation, a big point of the motivation of providing incentives to those projects was to have housing available, when the Flint project started. Kevin, go ahead. If you have
Yeah, Joe, you've done some great stuff. I appreciate it, and you're right. You've done some good stuff here in town, and built some great houses and didn't come asking. I want to address the level playing field part, though.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because then that's why I'm sticking with that's why I'm focusing on the policy. The even playing field is where we set, in my opinion, is where we set the rules, and let's stick with the rules. And let's don't, it's not that we're just trying to figure out, what comes up next and how to apply it. I'm saying we set out a roadmap for what we're wanting to do, and let's treat the people equitably who come in and are following that. And that's why, for the townhomes, 80% is the number that's in the plan, and it fits. This area is outside of it. That's why I'm saying I would treat somebody else the same way, or at least in my opinion, of it being outside. Is it in or out? And I'm gonna go back to our incentive plan first every time, and we've kept it fresh. That, in my opinion, is the level playing field.
I disagree with you. Okay, I disagree with you, and I think that I think it's all in who you are. That's what I think. Because if you're a Dustin Baker, if you're a Don Parr, if you're a Travis Hicks, if you're those kind of people, you get stuff. I've never asked for nothing, and I've done more in this town than probably any of you to help these people in this town than I know of most people. I do a lot to help people in this town that you don't even know about. And for you to say it's okay if those guys they can get it, but now that we come, we don't get it. I mean, I just don't understand. That's the level playing field that I'm talking about. Sometimes I think, you know, y'all say that you want to be transparent. We're a long way from being transparent.
Well, I'm gonna disagree with you on that, but that's a discussion for another time.
Probably is.
Because.
But anyway.
Right now, we're as transparent as we can be. We are live, in front
Well, I'm talking about what happens when this thing's not going.
Everything we have done is
Anyway,
live, but.
I'm just saying that we deserve an even playing field with everybody else. And maybe this thing is 2 blocks out of the deal, whatever. But this is a small town. We're gonna give all this stuff to people that are out of towners, but the guy that's worked here, employs 50 people from around here, you know, I just don't, that's okay if that's the way I get treated, it's okay, it's fine. But I just want everything to be on an even playing field, and I don't believe that it is. So.
Rob, go ahead.
So a couple things. Number one, the transparency, I hear that a lot. When most everything has been done in open meetings, when most everything has been done with public engagement and it's been more in the last 4 years that we've really stepped up reaching out to the community. So I would disagree on the transparency side of it. Having said that, you have done a lot for the community. You've asked for very little. We have looked at the policy and gone, there are exceptions. Dave Anderson sitting in this room, and the property he wanted an abatement on was just on the other side of the line. And so I believe there is a place for incentives on this. The other aspect that I'll bring into this, and I've had multiple people reach out to me, one of them recently in a private message is currently in training in Reno with Panasonic and is being asked a lot about family housing. Not 1 bedroom, not 2 bedroom, but housing that can accommodate families, and we don't have a lot of that.
Right, and they are being steered toward Overland Park and Olathe and Gardner.
And this meets the need. It meets the need right by the high school, right by middle school, right by the elementary school. It meets the need for the Panasonic, and it is, and we've done other incentives because we need it shovel ready. And the projects we've incentivized, we incentivized them with a timeline so that we got them, but we haven't seen the progress on them yet. And this is in a position where we would see dirt moving fairly quickly on a need that this community has a strong need for. And that I've had multiple people reach out, like I said, the gentleman and his family that are currently hired by Panasonic in training in Reno right now, looking for places, and he's not only asking for himself, but other people that are out there being trained currently. So the need for the expediency and the size of these has substantial merit to warrant some type of incentive.
Mr. Daniels, that gentleman you're talking about, whose family is trained in Reno, were they inquiring about for sale or for rent?
I believe he would prefer for sale, but the inquiries of the other people were pretty much anything, whether it be sale or rental.
When we first spoke with Panasonic, one of the things that stuck out with me on it was that they wanted an area where people would be able to own their homes. I don't know if anybody else remembers that, but I remember that clearly. It was something they want to be able to have jobs and to have places where people can own their homes. And I know there will be homes in town for sale, and that's all it. Joe, when I start reading all this information, when this came out to us last Friday, I'm going through this packet, and your name isn't on here. So I didn't say any of what I said because it's you, and I'm not going to give you anything. That is not how I look at it at all. And it's I won't say any more, but that it has nothing to do with who you are or Dave Anderson getting what he gets because he's Dave Anderson it has nothing to do with that. When somebody comes to me and it clearly, I think, said in here 100% abatement, is what it asks for on here, 100% abatement
If you look in.
for the school. Okay, that doesn't say anything about anything else, you know, that it's just tough for everything that has come to me, every single thing that has come to us is asking for abatements or it can't work. And I, in the back of my mind, when it comes to housing and the housing of this size and this you know, magnitude, is it even affordable for these people to rent? You know, there's nothing in here, I don't see what the rental are, you said.
They're 1,525 square feet.
Okay, so then I can do my calculations here at a later time and
It's
try
in
to
the
figure that out,
spreadsheet that we
but,
provided, the rents.
you know, so I'm not picking and choosing who it is. It's just trying to figure out projects that are good for DeSoto. Because along with that transparency, Joe, I have to be the one that answers to the citizens that we're given everything to, but they didn't get it for their home.
So, couple of points to clarify.
Would you
Joe
mind
is
coming to
providing.
the microphone,
Sorry.
please? Thank you.
Come on.
Sorry.
To respond to a couple of points. Obviously, Joe is the seller in this, but he's also, we've hired him to do all the horizontal work in both the projects. So he's our partner with respect to the horizontal, and we're doing all the vertical. That's our experience.
Before you leave could we get your name?
Oh,
just
sure.
for-
I'm Lenny Jordan,
Thank
one
you.
of the partners
Thank
with
you.
MVP. The other is, to the extent that you've opened the door on incentives, every other property is at a competitive advantage. And that's just the reality. They can lower their rents by the amount that, the incentive that you've given them. If we were to do it without incentive, we can't do that. That would force the rents to a much higher level, which would make them unaffordable to renters. So that's something to keep in mind. It's, you know, and we were trying to protect the school. I'm sorry I phrased, that was my choice of wording. I wasn't sure how to phrase it, and I did not choose the appropriate words, obviously. But we were, from the beginning, knew that this project would have an impact on the school district, and we were trying to protect that mill so that we could support the extra demand. That's all.
So we're at a point, I
Yeah,
think we need to huddle up again, maybe.
Yeah, well, we're, the intent of tonight is to have this discussion, get some direction. The intent is not to get a unified,
Right.
firm direction, which obviously we do not have. I think we understood when we went to this process that this step might be a little messy, and it is. And not that that's by design, but it just comes with transparency and openness and having these discussions in this forum. So if we get nothing else from other than the words that have been said tonight, that's enough for us to go forward and bring back at a later date some other proposal, some revisions, some other proposal. The other thing we haven't done is given this to our financial advisors to run any sort of cost benefit analysis on. By design, we've not done that. We've not run it through bond counsel and Patrick's review to see the legal ramifications associated with the school district. Haven't done that either, but we're happy to do that as staff and as a finance committee who also has discussed this, and we can take that back to that committee as well. So I think the intent of having this discussion has been fulfilled. We've had the discussion. And I think that's enough to move forward with no certainty, really, on the direction that we'll come back with. And I think that might be okay in this case. So that's my
Well, I
take.
agree.
Can I ask a question?
Sure,
to,
Danny, of course.
people? I didn't hear anybody say anything about ADA compliance or handicapability on these projects. Is there any of that, or is you going just with the basic and that's it? And could you talk about that just a little bit, please?
Well, we certainly need code, and there'll be a grade level, you know, as your insurance goes. Bedrooms are on the second floor, so, pardon me? Or in the basement. So there are stairs, to your question. I don't know that we have any other.
The lots, the duplex lots, we've looked at having it all on one floor. They're too narrow to support that sort of structure. That's why we're going up and down, because using the floor.
All right, thank you.
Can I ask one question, just so we understand the process which you were walking us through there, but if the governing body is not supportive of the tax abatement as we've requested with the restricted units, the restricted income units, is the process you'll come back to us with, this is what we can support, and for us to evaluate that? I know you'll be doing your financial analysis, but we've got impact with restricted units and the tax abatement, right? So if the tax abatement comes down, it may impact how many restricted units, or if we can do restricted units.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So
I think, I think the process would be, the restricted units can come down, or, in your pro forma. I think if we would look, I would look for another, if there's another venue, of another opportunity to provide some restricted units that perhaps are from some county money or some other money that don't affect your bottom line, that could be plugged into the project, that those could go in, but I think it's probably up to, I think we'll give you direction, but I don't know that we can, I think you need to bring forth the project that works for you, and then we'll evaluate that. But if the restricted units have to go to make the project work, then that's the calculation that you guys would have to make.
I got you. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
And I'll just say for the benefit of staff and the ones that are on that committee that, I'm not somebody who walks into something with my mind it's rock solid. I mean, I'm willing to learn more and change more, but it clearly says here, we're requesting a 10%, 100% tax abatement. Property tax exemption, starting with the construction is complete. It clearly says that, and so if I'm reading that wrong, I'm reading it wrong, but that's clearly what it says. So, if we can work together and come up with something that is not 100% that fits everybody's needs, I'm not saying I'm totally against, the project is yours. I love the project. I prefer people owning homes, but I'm not also gonna sit here and say that, we're 2-3 against this, or 3-2 against this, because, my mind can change. I'm not making a decision up tonight. I knew I wasn't making a decision up tonight. I'm here to learn and to find out, now moving forward, what can be done to make this happen.
Well, the other challenge you have on that, no disrespect, is that this takes more than one more meeting, she won't be voting on it. So at that point, come December 7th, it's 7th that the new council swears in, or is it?
The first, well, I think we need to discuss that, but it'd be the first council meeting after the election is certified.
Okay, so.
Chances are it'll be the
7th
first
or 14th
meeting,
of
Yeah,
December.
correct. Yeah.
You'll have at least one new council member here that may or may not have been in on this discussion, and may or may not have entirely different opinions. And
Well, you could have 3.
yeah, I'm saying you have at least one,
At least one, yeah.
and there's 3 positions up for election. So I mean, come December, you may have a totally different. I mean, you got the feel here, which you can take back. I mean, you're asking about direction, and that's where we've given them direction. But you've heard the temperature of everybody that's spoken here to be able to try and come back and draft something. But at the same time, I feel for you because you're in a kind of a weird position where, actually, I mean, thinking about it, you probably won't see this on a vote. Because at that point, the next time it comes back will probably be another discussion, maybe an application.
A public hearing.
And a public hearing, so by the time the public hearing happens and just the time frame of it, you're probably looking at a different council structure up here of 1 to 3 seats changing as far as possible opinion, even based upon what the public hearing and everything was. So kind of in a weird area there, but you've at least got the temperature of the council members that are here now.
Go ahead. Mr. Lane, I just want to address that 80 question you asked. We're still in a design phase right now, so there are a number of the duplexes that are going to be on slab, and so there might be an opportunity to get a bedroom on the first floor, in which case we would make it ADA compliant. It's a possibility.
Possible.
Yeah.
Good.
We're not overlooking it. It's a consideration, depending on what ultimately we can get on the footprint based on the lot size.
Well, I'm not, not saying not movable, because I am, and I can change. And, just want to let you know.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your time tonight. Patience.
Mayor, being 2 hours in, could we take a short hot break?
I declare, what have I got? 8:57 till 9:02.
Thank you.
Here's the language I was
I'm almost 60. I can barely go to the pause.
Right?
It makes it difficult right now, I don't really know what you're.
Are you doing the same? Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, these get pretty dry.
No, we wanted to protect this here.
It is.
You never know.
That's good work here. I'm going home.
Good luck.
You can't do that, like, yeah, we can't.
Yeah,
You cannot protect the schools essentially.
Oh, cannot protect the schools.
Right. So
So then it's just a matter of whatever the agreed level is.
it is what it is, yeah.
You got it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
See you guys. Have a good day.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, my uncle's buried in Mountain Hollow, which we know is a lot of the property.
Here's what I'm hearing.
But that's what it says, so that's what you do.
Was that by Branson?
So now you have
Yeah,
other
it's,
states.
Branson all the way down to Lake Northport,
And see,
which
that's
is
something.
right on the Missouri-Arkansas line.
You don't know anything about knowing that, that's how low.
Well, unless you were born in Ozarks.
It has to be something where you're gonna have to talk to Mike so he can present what you are at. So it's, my guess is 100% what it takes for you to make this project work, because everybody has to.
Well, no, but not everybody offers to restrict 10% of their units either.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Substantially less rent, which I don't think is, anyone's giving free.
I get, you know me, you know me, you know how I get.
You know, and
Although they want to put a bottle down below.
And we, by the way, you know what I didn't say, I should have.
Hey,
It'd
good
be
to see
for
you.
10 years, I mean, obviously it would be for the life of the abatement.
But the other complication we have is these are all public hearing items that this council can't make a definitive decision. So I know you want certainty, but by statute, we can't.
Now you understand.
Right, we can't do that now. It has to
I understand,
come back,
but I'm just
yeah.
saying, the dialogue was about the abatement, not about the rent restriction. So it felt to me like, okay, it's fine, you guys can offer that, but it's not a big deal to us. That's kind of what I'm hearing.
Assuming the election is certified.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
I think if the abatement was such a big deal, that's just so far away.
The election on
So we'll have
Tuesday.
one more meeting then.
Yeah, so
Right,
the election
but-
on Tuesday.
So what we
I do.
we quantify the value
Yeah,
of that
at
road
the-
reward, and I mean,
Yeah.
highlight that
Yep,
in
sure.
your
The
performance,
December
like,
meeting.
this is what we're.
Whoever is,
Sure.
And how's, I don't, you know, I mean, but.
Yeah. I understand. Okay, thank you all. Have a good night, sir.
But I've always, after the fact, it's all done. It's all done. No, but I told them.
I'll find it.
Every time I say something, talk about something, but I don't have all that information. I agree. And it's.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks.
I got that.
My guys say they won't eat here, so. I know it. I would tell it.
Still 13.
It's not quite keeping up.
Oh,
we don't
well,
have
okay,
mine.
I don't even need it plugged in. I just
We need the flash charger.
Huh?
How many amps?
All right. We'll bring it, maybe we'll get Danny back in here.
Very good. He's coming. He's coming.
I got 10 questions on this one now, they gave me a chance to write notes.
Huh?
I got one.
Oh, never mind.
Oh, okay.
All right, it is 9:02. I'm going to call the meeting back to order. And we will move on in our agenda to consider item I. Consider options for City Hall renovation from SFS Architecture.
Thank you, Mayor. This is, okay, thank you, Mayor.
Oh.
Um,
I got to turn your mic on. I got it.
Green light on?
He just turned it
There
on.
we go.
You're on.
Light's off on my end.
Is it? It's
Yep.
on my end.
Now it's on my end.
Now it's off
Oh,
on
we
my
got a
end.
problem. We got a
They
problem.
on sync now?
When you install the camera, fix that switch, would you?
I'm done. You are.
No?
Danny is.
I am.
Stop it.
Because I'm not putting anything in my mouth.
Mike's not.
Danny's froze.
I'm froze.
Did I turn it off?
You paused it. Did you restart
Yeah,
it?
no, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't.
I just muted it.
Oh,
I
you
didn't-
muted it,
yeah.
right, yeah.
It's
Thank
just
you for
slow.
that.
All right.
Go ahead.
We're ready.
Thank you. As you, is presented before you and we discussed during the work session, there's two options that have come from our work with SFS Architecture on the City Hall renovation plan. One of which includes just the second floor and the first floor, one of which includes the second floor, the first floor, and the basement space. What we're bringing before you tonight are these concepts to get your thoughts and opinions as to how to move forward. Both of them come with the cost report, cost estimate from SFS Architecture. As we discussed during the work session, what we're looking for this evening is at the estimated cost that were presented, is this a project that you would like to see us continue to move forward with and bring back a contract with SFS at the next council meeting for phase 2 of the design services, which is schematic design and construction documents, as well as what option would be the preferable option to the mayor and council. See you flipping furiously, Mike. I just realized the cost
Costs
estimates are not attached as in exhibit.
Yeah, okay. You had them earlier.
So.
You can just articulate them again, I guess.
Yeah, so the difference in cost between option 1 with no basement, option 2, is essentially a difference of $500,000. One of them with architecture, engineering fees, furniture and equipment, all encompassing, as well as the construction cost. Option 1 has an estimated price tag of roughly $5.5 million. Option 2 has one just over $6 million. So it's a difference of about $500,000 between the two projects to include the basement space. In option 2 of our concept, you'll notice that basement space is conceptually programmed for Chamber of Commerce. However, nothing, about that space would inhibit being used by city staff at a later date if the Chamber of Commerce were to vacate their space or anything of that nature. So I will stand for any questions or comments or
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah, I think the key issue is whether or not we want to include the basement, and then what we choose to do upstairs could still be involved, right? And yeah, that chamber space or that finished, heck, that could just be finished as a big room that could be another community meeting room that if we did, you know, until we have a future need or you know, if that's what we chose to do it, you know, another space that could be,
Same thing.
you know, that, just another usable space, so it doesn't, but for me, I think it's important that if we're gonna spend the money on the building, we should finish all the public spaces, and then I think that includes that basement hallway, and with that, then the art council room, and that hallway and their entrance, and that, converting that storage area that we have into usable space, which would require us to reroute the ADA ramp. The other thing about that it puts the ADA ramp directly in front of the elevator. You're not offset and wondering where you're going. But those are my thoughts. I think no matter what we choose to do on the third floor or the second floor, whatever we call it, I think the basement should be part of the plan.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with the chamber being down there, but finishing it while we're doing it, full support for. Question, what is our budget in the CIP? I have a couple questions on that. What's our budget in the CIP for this?
Nowhere near 6 million.
I figured that. That's
Yeah.
where,
Half
what
of
did?
that wasn't.
Oh, it wasn't even half. It was about 2.5 million.
About 2.5.
Yeah. Yeah, we had money this year, about 300,000,
We
Cameron?
had 350,000, I believe, this year.
For
And,
design.
that would be for design and things of that nature.
And
However,
then-
with the inflated construction estimate, the design for phase 2 is tied directly to that construction estimate of 10%, which is the industry standard for design. So it is a little higher than what we have in the CIP for this year for that design. However, at this point in the year, the design would not actually begin taking place
Yeah.
until next year, when the CIP has more money for the city hall remodel, but that's all going through a rework process as well.
Yeah, just a reminder, the plan is to overhaul that CIP.
I was gonna say, I like the security item as well. With it being so much over the CIP, would we be looking to do it still in one big chunk and just take on the 5.5 to 6 million, or would we look at phasing it in some way?
No, this would be one project. Yeah, I
Okay.
think if we're gonna phase it, there's some efficiencies that get lost, but we've contemplated it as one project.
And then I know when I sat in on the first couple meetings with them, they were going over entire city hall renovation of tuck pointing, windows, this, that. I mean, it was a complete building evaluation. How much of that is in this, or is this just the internal rooms and things like that?
That includes all of that exterior envelope work, to really make sure that this space is safe, usable, and, user-friendly and doesn't create a maintenance issue, for a foreseeable amount of time.
So that includes some of the landscaping and
Yes,
just
and-
every aspect of what they presented, that's the whole
Yeah,
package.
and that's part of what's in that conditions assessment, is they tried to take a look at the building as a whole and said, if you wanna use the second floor, what's it gonna entail if you're doing windows and tuck pointing and soffits, and then the exterior concrete, that's been broken out. Part of that is tied into that landscape plan to help, kind of give the city hall structure a facelift, as we've lost some mature plantings and trees in recent years to where it's getting pretty barren out there. And part of that is that exterior, but as far as the tuck pointing and soffits goes, that's included in this estimate as a necessary part of this project to ensure that we don't have water intrusion on a newly finished space.
Right. What level of increase in efficiency and energy efficiency would be in this plan?
So as part of this plan, we've discussed, if you look up, we still have a lot of fluorescent light bulbs, and our lighting load in City Hall has been identified as probably our number one most inefficient space. The HVAC was all replaced relatively recently, I believe 2020, 2021 timeframe is, if I remember right.
COVID funds.
To where our current HVAC systems are current, they're modern, they're efficient, they're as efficient as any unit in a house would be. The remodel part, all new work would have to comply with the current energy code. So it would definitely improve our efficiency. We would add additional load by having additional space finished, but in part of that with the remodel of this space would be an efficiency. What are the easy places to improve efficiency on this floor while we're doing that remodel? And part of that is light fixtures and things of that nature.
So this would be all exterior, and then the central core of the building as far as interior?
So the exterior scope, I don't know that has been fully defined at this point. You know, they did the conditions assessment of the entire structure while they were here. As far as what the project will entail, that is still not set in stone. That's still up for debate. You know, if we wanted to pare it down to just the central core and leave the two wings on the sides alone and do that later on, that would definitely be an option. But the exterior wings seem to have a lot of the same issues.
But the $5.5 to $6 million is the entire exterior with the interior central core?
Yep.
Okay.
And how much of that $5.5 to $6 million is exterior work versus interior? It's probably less than a third is my understanding, if not even less than that. Most of the bill on that remodel project is the second floor, because currently it has no conditioning. It's got no AC, it's got no heat. That's a very large bill. It's got no electrical circuits up there for lighting or computers. Plumbing, the plumbing fixtures. I mean, a lot of the cost is in the new work versus the remodel and rehab of the existing. So, but before we get finalized and, you know, here's the schematic design, here's the final cost, we could definitely get a breakdown of what the exterior would cost, what the interiors cost, what every line item is across that budget. Because this was kind of an overarching conceptual design on phase one, they gave us an overarching conceptual budget just to give us an idea. As we get into schematic design and really start getting into the weeds on, you know, fixtures and appliances and things of that nature, that's when that cost will really firm up towards the end of phase two of design before it goes out to bid.
Yeah, because I know in that first presentation, we all kind of went, wow, they went into everything.
Yep.
So.
Like bringing your car to the service station.
Kevin, did you have something you wanted to add?
First, sorry, I ended up not being able to make the workshop, so, you know, just some comments I had. I do like option 2 on the second floor. I think one of the benefits you get there is the consolidated meeting space. I think that would be something that would be invaluable. I'll just go back to my programming comment when we talked about this months ago or whatever. You know, in that scenario, the chamber's not accommodated, which I think it shouldn't be in a secured space, but I really would like to see our Chamber of Commerce get out into a storefront situation and get out to where it's welcoming and inviting in as a business, as an organization that represents businesses. So I was surprised, I guess, when I saw the chamber back in the programming for this space, and then in particular, if you looked at, you know, we're not really attributing the in-kind value of rent, and as it applies there, but when you look at a $500,000 remodel of a basement to largely accommodate the chamber, I would hope the chamber would be paying rent at that point. And I don't know if that's something that's being discussed, because, you know, that's a big chunk that primarily would accommodate them. But I really would like to see our chamber out, you know, downtown in a storefront where it's walk up and
Well,
and welcome.
that's where they were.
Yeah, I'd like
until
to-
they were
yeah.
required to move down here.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I know nothing about that, but I think it'd be great
No,
to get
that's-
them back out and.
Well, and many chambers are not storefront based. Overland Park and some of the others are in office spaces on
Banks.
second floors.
But they're not buried inside of another public facility.
But one's
You know,
buried, one's buried in the middle of the train station.
But
So-
like the mayor
Well,
said.
but again, that's a public space.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
But-
you walk into Union Station to get Kansas City Chamber of Commerce, and, it's a grand space, and they've got,
Well,
the boardroom that's used as a public space,
I
so.
was gonna say, the chamber discussion aside, because that can be a discussion for another time, it's gonna be a while before this happens. They may be out before the construction ends up happening, where they find their own space. They were asked to come down here by the city. That can be a discussion for another time, like the mayor said. So it's a matter of, do we want to include the basement, do we not? And are we looking at that? And it's gonna be a while before our staff grows fully to fill all the spaces that we're talking about renovating as well. So,
Yeah, so part of their programming study was forecasting out 10 years on a staffing basis. And that's kind of where these needs came from, was a 10-year projection. And I mean, I know it's very hard to project with the growth that we're seeing, the potential growth that's coming 10 years, but that's kind of what we asked every department to look at is, what do you envision your department realistically looking at in 10 years? So that's the time frame that they looked at for those space needs.
Well, I definitely think you should complete the whole building, because you're here, you're mobilized, you're already remediating some areas that you need to take care of, and then you're putting back, and you're gonna make that space usable sometime, and it's a lower cost today than it will be to come back. We're already learning that from not doing the third floor years ago. But when I look at this, the plans that you had on here, option 1 and option 2, and I think of the basement for any entity, and then I look at option 2, there's a medium room, there's a large room, and then there's another small meeting room up front. And so some of those total 800 square feet.
You're talking meeting spaces?
Yeah,
When you
meeting
say that?
spaces. And then you go upstairs and you add another, that was option 2. That was level 2, option 1.
Yeah.
But level 2, or option 2, level 2, let me find it here. It has those 2 big meeting rooms, which I like as well. But then it also has some other meeting rooms. It's got another meeting one right in front of it, 280 square foot. Those could easily be something else. So we're meeting roomed up, is the way this appears to me, when we could have usable space to put people. And lastly, I'll say, I don't know who we charge for rent and who we don't. And we give the sheriff space. I'm not gonna pick on that one because I love it. And I think it's great for the community. And I wouldn't want to, but I don't know what we charge Arts Council or any other entity that uses our buildings. So I think we should just target one group if we're gonna think about charging rent for sure.
Well, I think the difference there, Arts Council is largely a volunteer organization. The chamber is a revenue you pay dues, you belong to it, it's an independent corporation.
nonprofit.
The sheriff's a public.
But we forced them down here. They had a building.
And they're nonprofit.
Well, I think it's time to
So if we're
look
gonna-
at,
But
We're gonna ask them to
aside
move,
from,
then I
aside
think
from
we
the
ought to help
support and hatred of the chamber and this council chambers, because some of the.
there's no
and
hatred, I'm saying that's
some of the
that's the
entities here
position.
have worked against the chamber, some have worked for the chamber. We all worked together until Panasonic came along and people got attitudes. So that aside, we're focusing on the renovation here. It's gonna be 5-10 years before we fill it. So even in the short term of up to 5 years, there's room to accommodate those type of needs while they look for another space. So that said, coming back to more of a technical question in some ways, the divider for the 2 large conference rooms, is that like an air wall? On the option 2 where it's a wall that comes out, what type of?
It's an operable
Partition.
divider.
Yeah, 'cause-
Similar to what, I mean,
They
it's
pull and lock or
obviously be a
whatever.
lot more modern and complete than what we have in the senior center currently, but we do have a demising wall that's operable in
Yeah.
the senior center to separate it into 2 spaces.
Because I know those are great until you get about 10-15 years out, and then they start looking like trash and not operating quite the same and things like that. That's the only question on that side of it, is just,
So
I've seen lots of buildings with them, lots of hotels with them, and they typically have a lifespan that doesn't hold up over a longer period of time.
part of the thought process on on that demising wall was, the larger meetings that are currently happening in this space. This would allow us a space separate from the council chambers, but still be able to divide down, because there's often times that we hold a lot of meetings that don't necessarily need a space this big, but they need something bigger than what we currently have for the conference room. I think that's where that thought process came from.
Would that end up
And-
being bigger than the council chambers as far as width, or about the same?
It's exactly the same.
It's the same, it just doesn't have the
Exactly the
dais in it.
The wall gets
So-
bigger when it
But
goes
if
up.
you look at option 2, the second floor, you have 1,830
Distance of the
square
wall,
feet of meeting
especially
space
the
out there. That's a lot of meeting space.
Well, that medium conference room in front of the large ones, that could be converted to a different use.
That's what
It
I
doesn't
mean.
have
That's
to
what I'm
be-
saying. I think it just needs tweaked a little bit. I like
Well,
the
I
big
mean, it's
room.
flexible. It's flex
but,
space. It could change to something in the
could put-
future if you needed to seat people there.
Yeah, you could put just cubicle
Yeah, I
type
think some of
things
these,
in there.
some of this stuff could be tweaked a little
Yeah,
bit.
I-
Furniture.
I think this floor, the meeting space is all pretty well set. I mean, the spaces that we have, that we need the space to be able to accommodate court. Largely what it was set for was for, court kind of dictated the rooms that we had to have in addition to our council chambers and the conversion of the space. I think largely upstairs, I don't know, we can all get our pencils out and come up with our own plans, but I guess I think the focus, rather than trying to drill down and all come up with a different design, is number one, do we feel this is a project worth going forward with right now and spending another $350,000 or whatever it might, $500,000 on an architectural contract, or is it something that we file this away and maybe we pick it up in a couple years? So if we think we need to go forward, then what plan do we want to tell them to do? Do we want to tell them to do just upstairs plus this floor, or do we want to tell them to do the full building? And that's all we really need to decide tonight.
I think adding to that
One at a time.
also is, if we had in the CIP for 2 million and we're expanding it to almost 3 times that, is that something we want to look at as well, as far as that level of expansion to cost, especially with taxpayers?
Yeah, maybe that's a reason
taxpayers
of its
and
own
their
to
taxpayer
punt it.
interest as far
But
as.
you may pay for the design all the way out, so you know all the particulars that you have to do when it's done. And then what you finish, maybe, what you tend to finish may be something different. Or only pieces of it as you can afford it. But designing it would be the whole thing. I'm for the whole building, don't get me wrong. This is what I'm for. I just want to make sure that we're making good use of spaces and taking care of people.
Kevin, did you have a comment?
Well, I was just gonna say, if we kick the can down the road, you're looking at least a year for delivery of this.
Yeah.
So, if we wait a year, that's another year. So when are we going to reach capacity in terms of the space that we have now? Because staff is gonna grow and we are going to need the space. So I think we just gotta remember, we're at least a year out for delivery. I would encourage proceeding with the design.
Okay. Lori, what are your thoughts?
I would like us to proceed with the design.
I'm gonna back up to Kevin. So whole building or?
Whole building so that we can get costs and we can start programming
Sorry,
out.
yeah.
So thanks.
All right,
Yeah.
Lori?
Yes, the whole building, and proceeding with it.
Rob?
Whole building.
Okay.
Same.
Danny? There you go.
There you go. Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Cameron. That was a lot of work.
Cameron, thanks for
that
your hard work
you've
and all the
done.
groups
Jay
that work.
too. I mean, this guy's been neck deep with these
Can
architects.
I ask one question, Cameron, I didn't want to ask?
Sure.
Are you you talked about the facade outside the building here. Are you looking at changing any of the, okay, good.
No.
Okay, you're just,
Tuck point,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
soffit repair, it's all maintenance related to making sure the building lasts as long as it can.
okay, I agree with that. I'm just afraid of change.
Getting it weather tight and then cleaning.
Well,
Okay,
part
that's
of it,
good,
part of
good.
it is SFS, part of their work, they dug up, the original plans when this building was built through the University of Kansas. And part of their design is they would like to stick with the historical feel that was built on this building with modern elements such as windows, but the same architectural style that was here when this building was built. The outside facade area would primarily be landscaping and then kind of a rework of some sidewalk stair areas that are deteriorating.
Lighting,
things like
lighting,
that.
nighttime
Lighting.
Well, see,
Yeah.
we just had our building done up on Main Street. So, you know, we had to go through all the brick and get everything sealed and all the windows and the roof too.
And they had
So-
evaluations where soffits were not where they need to be, concrete on the soffits wasn't up to the level it needed to be to keep the water out, I mean, so it's.
We had a dead squirrel on the third floor, or the second floor, whatever you want to call it.
Did they evaluate the roof as well? When they did
I
that?
found that.
Good. I know parts of it were new, but I just.
All right, we're gonna move on. Thank you, gentlemen. Item J, approve agreement with Lane Christensen Company for rehabilitation of well number 8. Joe, is that you?
It is.
All right.
Mayor, Councilmember, thank you. So, well 15 is one of our active wells. It is now inactive. The pump needs to be replaced. We've not done any sort of maintenance on the well. So, we got 2 quotes from contractors to do this work. Lane had the best price. The other one came in at a little over $29,000. The work that they will do is pull the pump, televise the well, and then do a acid treatment and clean the well to improve productivity of the well. Once that work's done, they will put a temporary pump in and to test the well to see whether we can get more capacity out of it, and if we need to, the pump that we're replacing, if we need to go up a little bit in the pump size to be able to take advantage of the extra capacity from cleaning the well. And then we'll probably have to do this to well number 8, which went down. And so we need to replace the pump, and so we'll probably end up having to do well 8. All this work kind of goes with all the well field work that's being done. You know, right now we approved a contract with HDR to look at all of our inactive wells, to pull them, test them with the pump, and then based on that to come back and develop a plan to be bid out to see what rehabilitation that needs to be done on the 6 inactive wells, whether we can rehab the wells or whether we need to drill new wells. So wells, our active wells 15 and 8, we need new pumps, but this is part of that, the extensive rehab to bring all the wells up to operating in good conditions so that we're able to supply the water for the need for Panasonic. And this is all part of the money that's been allocated for the well fields, some around $7 million. So this is all part of that cost for the well field rehabilitation. So staff is asking approval of this with the city attorney's review to make sure that contract language meets with the city standards.
Refresh my memory, is the $7.5 million just the active wells or all the wells?
No, what was that?
The $7.5 million for the well rehab, is that just the active wells, or is that?
No, that's
all of
the,
them?
the active wells, and then to bring the inactive wells on.
That's
online.
what- that's
Yeah,
what I
so that's to get the well field, all 12 wells operating, and then all the lines cleaned.
Yeah. That was my memory, but I wanted to just get it back out there.
Any questions, any more questions for council?
No, I guess I have one small one. I seen this site safety and site condition checklist. Do they fill that out by themselves, or do one of our employees or
It's done with
supervisors go
us.
over them?
Yeah,
Thank you.
so that we're both on the same page.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Someone ready to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, we move to approve the agreement with Lane Christensen in the amount of $24,013 and authorize the city manager to sign, subject to attorney review.
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Sorry. Daniels.
Yes.
Hunamichael.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yeah.
Lane.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Item K, approve agreement with Musselman and Hall Contractors for the repair of Commerce Street Railroad Crossing.
Mayor, Council, we received complaints with the existing crossing at the old railroad ties, and they're probably 20-some years old. Many of them are, or most of them are rotten, some of them are missing, which makes for a very, very bumpy ride. I think we had one motorist that had damage to his vehicle, so we reached out to Musselman Hall to take a look at it and give us a quote for this work. In addition to the work that they will do for us in improving the crossing, they also have an agreement with Hilmaki and yeah, to realign the tracks. The tracks have kind of settled, so they need to go in and level up the tracks and do about $12,000 worth of work. That will be on their dime. So the improvements would be to remove the railroad ties and go back in with asphalt all the way over to the sidewalk, so that it's a better crossing for the sidewalk. And leveling up the tracks will make for a smoother transition and a better drive transition over the tracks. So staff is asking for approval of this agreement with review by the city attorney for signature by the city administrator.
Okay.
And this is in the amount of $17,680.
So question on that, the total cost, who's contracting for the rest of it?
So that is the two industries.
So they'll contract
Yeah, so they have,
separately.
there's a
It's
separate
not that
contract.
there's one and then somebody's getting
Yeah.
reimbursed.
So this is the contract for our work. There's a separate contract, but they both have to be done at the same time.
And it'll be done by the same company.
Yeah, it's just their piece of the spur.
Yeah, so the total cost for all the work is a little over $30,000. Our share of it is $17,680.
Questions? More questions? It is bumpy. I
Oh,
can
it'd be
testify
awesome to
to
get that
that.
fixed.
It's gotten worse.
You slow down, it's a road track, I do it every day. One time though, there were spikes out, remember a few years ago?
Yeah.
You know, it had like, you had to like.
That's a good speed table.
It is a good speed table.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion, we approve the agreement with Musselman and Hall in the amount of $17,680 and authorize the city administrator to sign.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, a second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Hanamichael.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Ritter for you. Murdoch.
She said yes.
Daniel, sorry.
Yeah.
Daniel, sorry.
The second
My-
time, yes,
Sorry, my
yes,
computer, my
yes.
computer froze. I apologize.
It's okay.
So did his brain.
Daniel.
What?
Did you get wrong votes?
Yes, I did.
All
Yeah.
right, we'll move on then. I'm gonna strike item 5, executive session.
That's correct.
I was told that was stricken.
That's right.
So we'll go to item 6, advisory reports, city administrator.
Yeah, Mayor, you asked me not to allow you to forget
All right.
the holiday social invitation. I think, council members, you had it at your places. Council of Mayors Holiday Social, December 6th, 5:30 PM. They're asking for an RSVP, so be aware of that.
And I don't know if you wanna send them directly to those guys or send them back to Brandon and he can send them all in.
Can I get that card? I just never got the card. That way I.
Well, that's because you had your door shut today.
I was busy doing Quest and
I
stuff
know.
today, but I will. I'll send out a calendar invite tomorrow.
All right,
Okay, that was it.
thank
That
you,
was it.
Mike,
Thanks.
appreciate that. City attorney,
Nothing for me.
all right. No city planner, city engineer, what do you got, Joe?
The only thing, some good news here in 2 weeks, K10 bridge work, the
Yeah.
Litchfield Bridge will be done, supposed to be opened November 17th, 18th. So
Uh-oh, I've
2
been
more
telling
weeks,
people
we'll-
the 16th, oh my gosh.
And next
It may
year,
be done sooner, but that was the contract.
and next
Hopefully
year they
it's done
start
sooner.
all over on the other side?
No,
No?
no, it's just
Just that one side?
the eastbound lanes that had to be
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, they did the other side last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've gone through the other side already, we've gone through that thing. Thank you, Joe.
Yep.
Brandon's, what you got?
I got one quick thing, just because I've gotten a lot of confusion about it. The assuming that the canvas is approved by Johnson County, the new council will be set on the December 7th meeting. We've had a lot of things go back and forth on that. But so the canvas will be November 15th, and the new council will be set on December 7th. My understanding is anyone who is coming off the board will sit, and then We'll give them their plaques and kind of wish them well, and the new council will be set shortly after that. So I just wanted to add some clarification to that because we have had things back and forth. Outside of that, nothing else.
All right. Thank you. Council comments. Danny, you want to start us?
No, I'm done.
All right. Kevin?
I'm done if you.
Thank you. Rob?
Not tonight.
Lori?
I'll hold my tongue. I have nothing really, thank you.
All right.
I'm done.
Well, Mike took care of my business, so I'm done.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Oh, Brandon. Thank you for taking that packet down to Linda that I forgot.
Oh, yeah, no worries. Yeah, no worries.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
But I screwed up.
No, you're good. Don't worry about it.
Joe.
Here, coming next week.
Huh?
Good luck.
Okay.
I'm going to eat this late tonight.